Yeah, hey Joe. It seemed like James Cook was really a catalyst for your offense yesterday, and you seemed to go away from him a bit late in the third quarter. Two drives, I believe he didn't touch the ball. What was the reason from going away from him at that time?
I don't think it was a product of going away from him. I think it was, um, at the end of the day, we went three and out two times, right? And so I think that makes it tough when, we stayed off schedule a little bit early in that, in the first play of the drives, we had two pass plays, thinking much out of it. And then now you're behind the drive, off schedule. And then, you're getting the third down. Obviously, if you get the drive going, you love to kind of get him going, but there was nothing in particular for, hey, why he did touch the ball in those two drives.
All right, and Gabe Davis once again didn't record a catch. What did you see from him yesterday that may have limited his production?
Look, I think I think every game there's going to be some guys. It's going to be impossible to get everybody involved every game. I think there's like I said a couple weeks ago, there's so much that goes into a guy getting a catch and getting a touch. With the way the game is getting played, I think you'll watch tape and you'll see there's times where, hey, Gabe is open and you love to be able to get him the ball, but there's a lot of things that kind of go on, with it, whether it's protection, whether it's coverage, whether it's just progression in the throw. So a lot that goes on to it. Obviously, I love to get Gabe going a little more. Need to get Gabe going more. He's too good of a football player, to get that. But yes, that's kind of where we're at with that.
And Dawson Knox's return to the lineup seemed to produce well. How did you see his impact overall affect things offensively?
Yeah, I mean, it gives us another weapon to be a little more versatile, and he was able to make plays in the pass game. Go in there and like he played a lot of he played a lot of plays for not playing in a lot of weeks, and just kind of a testament to him and who he is and how he's been training. And it's always good to have him in there and being able to go 12 personnel, go 21 personnel, and kind of mix it up with that. So I was pleased with Dawson coming back.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, Ryan O'Halloran from the Buffalo News. Looking ahead to Sunday with Dallas, how unique of a player is Micah Parsons, both in terms of his talent, but also how Dan Quinn moves him around?
I mean, when I was a GA at Penn State, Micah came to camp, and he was obviously like the top defensive end or top player in the country in high school, and he decided he wanted to play wide receiver for the camp, and he was the best wide receiver in the camp. Like that, everything he's doing in the NFL doesn't surprise me at all. An absolute freak of an athlete, and Dan does an unbelievable job of moving around and getting him on matchups and mismatches, and there's really not much that he can't do, and it'll be a great opportunity for us this week.
Most of the time they call out the Mike linebacker at the line of scrimmage. Is he one of those guys where you have to identify where he is pre-snap all the time?
Yeah, I think it's the trend that the league is kind of going to. We saw that going against Chris Jones last night. Like, these dynamic defensive linemen and just dynamic football players. You got to know where they are at every given play, and the defense coordinators do such a good job of knowing that and kind of playing chess with it a little bit. So it'll be important that we're accounting for him at every single snap, and making sure that we're not putting ourselves at a disadvantage.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Joe. If you could, can you take us into that last drive? 5 minutes. I think you guys had it for 12 plays. How you felt that it went, and like once you're getting there towards the red zone, the philosophy, especially at the 2:17 mark of the play calls that you dialed up there. I'm sure you probably would have liked the completion there on the Diggs play. Was there any thought at all into a run play to try to force them to use those timeouts? Just take us into that drive and some of the thoughts that you had there.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, when you get the drive at 5 minutes, you're just trying to get your best plays. You're trying to find a way to score points, right? So you're not thinking. You're at the end of the day, you're trying to get into field goal range to start, and then try to go get a touchdown. And so once we got there, they got the penalty on the third down, and so we got an opportunity to kind of, I think it was like 2:12 or something right there at that point. And so, we call the RPO, the run play. We spit it out. They brought the pressure, spit out the Steph. In hindsight, a first down play, you'd love for that to be a potentially getting a run. Now we give that up to Josh because they do blitz it. You spit out to Steph. Some of the bubbles have been good for us prior in the game. But that might be one in the hindsight that I believe, like, hey, in that situation, maybe just get a run it, call it run. After that point, it's 2nd and 10, and I think the natural inclination is, hey, we need to get them. They're not going to burn timeouts then. They're gonna you don't burn your timeouts until after the 2 minutes. So our thought process was, hey, we get in that situation. If you run it right there and it's 2nd and 10, Spags usually does a great job of dialing the pressures like he's done in the whole game. And so, hey, what run do you like in pressure situation? You're either going to get man or you're going to get pressure. And so you can either run the ball and, give Josh Allen and say it's not a great run, give Josh Allen one opportunity, or I can give him 2 opportunities right there. And so our mindset going into the game was we're going to be aggressive. And you look back to last year, you had a similar situation where we threw the one-on-one to Gabe in the same end zone, threw Steph in the one-on-one to Gabe threw Steph in the same situation. And so I thought, like, in that 2nd down is like, hey, I wasn't trying to settle for a field goal. I wanted to score a touchdown. And, obviously neither of those ended up working out from that standpoint, but I was going to be aggressive. And that's kind of how it kind of shaped up from that. Obviously Josh wants that throw back to Steph. You got the matchup, the look that we wanted, but we just didn't cash in on it.
No, I appreciate that. That's great insight. Everything that happened last week, changing gears a little bit with Sean, he mentioned when you took over the job that when you came onto the staff, obviously you guys had similar paths and, you knew people, but he didn't know you very well. How much have you gotten to know him over the last year and a half from your vantage point? How difficult was last week and what he went through, and what did you learn about him in the way that he handled everything and got you all ready to play on Sunday?
Yeah. I mean, naturally, you can go back to when I'm in college, you're a William Mary guy and you're following the Sean McDermotts, the Mike Tomlins, the guys that, once I realized I wasn't a good enough football player that I wanted to be a coach. And, you start following these guys and kind of seeing their paths, and, you're watching their press conferences and seeing how they're handling things. And, so even though he didn't know me, I had been following his career for a while. I kind of knew a lot about him, and my head coach in college, coached him and, spoke the world of him. And so when I got the opportunity here, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to work for a guy that, I believed in, and that, had the character that I wanted to work for. And so it was a tough week for us, naturally. I'd do anything for Coach McDermott, and I don't say that's just as an interim OC. I'd say that as the QB coach. I believe in who he is as a man and his character, and I think everybody in here too does. So obviously a tough week. Proud of the way that the guys kind of responded, yesterday and through a tough week and find a way to get a win.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Hi, Joe. This is Jay with the Buffalo News. Has there been a concerted effort on your part to involve the running backs, particularly James, but really the group as a whole, a bit more in the passing game?
Yeah, I think, look, if there's 5 offensive linemen on the field, and if they have to defend the other 6, it's I hope that it puts a little stress on the defensive coordinators, right? And you got Josh Allen that you have to, in any given play, you got to be ready for him in the run game and the pass game. And now just, with the weapons that we have, just being able to utilize all of them both, all the running backs in that situation where any given play, they can't just, hey, dial up a pressure knowing that those guys are going to be, blocking, or, hey, or do we like this coverage? Well, hey, who's matching up on the running back? And whether we're using it or whether we're not, at least they have to think about it. And so, I think that that's important. And, I was proud of the way that Jimbo kind of responded. Last week, he had a similar situation, and, when he dropped it. And I said last week I had full faith, and I still do. And the work that he put in last week, and we rep those plays, and, Josh trusted him and he made a big play. And so I think utilizing those running backs just helps. It opens up paths for, the receivers and the tight ends where, we're not necessarily one-dimensional and, predictable about where the ball's going.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Coach, I know you were asked about the end of the game situation by Matt. I want to go back to the end of the first half situation and, what you feel happened there, the communication. And I guess should have asked Coach McDermott about, not kicking a field goal. But just from your standpoint and not being able to come away with an opportunity for points until the Hail Mary.
Yeah, no, that's a drive. Once you get in that position, the 2nd and 1, the second one, or 1st and 10 to 2nd and 1, the 10-second runoff, changes a lot on the plays, right? So you go back to, I believe it was 27 seconds where we take a shot in the end zone. Probably love to get, at least get a little closer to guarantee the field goal range before taking the shot. But once you take that 10-second runoff with no timeouts, the clock starts shrinking in terms of what kind of plays you want. so just the communication with myself, Coach McDermott, our people in the box of, hey, what are we, where do we got to get to kind of get into that situation? Josh was smart about the next play. The clock was kind of running down. We felt like it wasn't the look he wants. We just darted it and give us an opportunity to, hey, decide whether we're going to kick a deep field goal, or we're going to go for the Hail Mary in that situation. And we felt like it was based on where we were on the yard line. It was the best opportunity was for the Hail Mary. And so obviously from an offensive standpoint, you'd love to get closer where T-Bass can, you feel confident in T-Bass making it. So we got to do a better job of getting points there where, hey, at the end of the game, they need a touchdown and not just a field goal, because we found a way to double dip and get points at the end of half and in the beginning.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up that play, the Josh. So that was basically he didn't get the look he wanted. So, hey, let's just get rid of this ball quick and live to fight one more down.
Yeah,
okay.
Basically.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Joe, looking ahead to the Cowboys game, I know you talked about Micah Parsons a little bit, but what type of test will this be for the offensive line, and why have you been pleased with the season that they've had so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way that their defense is playing right now. I mean, they're kind of clicking on all cylinders. They do a great job, rushing the passer. They got a bunch of different weapons, and they're creating turnovers, and they're turning those turnovers into picks. I mean, I was with Steph Gilmore in Carolina. I know the elite player that he is, as we all know here in Buffalo. And then you got Bland on the opposite side of him, who's breaking records with what he's doing. So they're affecting the run, they're affecting the pass, and then they're making the most of opportunities with the takeaways. And so it's going to be a great opportunity for us. And our offensive line, I love that the way that they're the grit that they kind of play with. It's not always going to be pretty, but I know that I can depend on them, especially at the end of the games. And I've been proud of the way that even if the end of the second half, the first drive, obviously we'd like to get points, but those couple of 3-and-out drives, and then we got a couple penalties on the third drive in the second half, but there was no putting the heads down, no doubt in our guys' mind that we were going to find a way to get it done in the offensive line. That last drive of the game, we were able to run the ball a little bit, have some success. They did a good job protecting, and so kind of shows the kind of guys that we have up front that we're going to play for however long we need to, and we got full faith those guys are going to protect us and open up the windows, for the run game if we need to, especially at the end of the games.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Joe. It seems like the last couple of weeks, Josh has been more willing to use his legs, whether it's on scrambles, whether it's design calls. How much has that opened up some other stuff that you'd like to do, whether it's in the run game with the RPOs or, throws down?
Yeah, I think, like I said, with kind of the running back thoughts, and on any given play, they got to be ready for Josh Allen to utilize his legs. We know the dynamic that he is, and he's not a running back, right? We know that he can stand in the pocket and make any throw on the field. So for a defensive coordinator to have to be ready for that, but then also have to be worrisome of, okay, well, hey, are we going to cage him in the pass rush? What's our pass rush going to look like where we can't let him get out of the pocket? And when he does, do we have someone accounting for him? So there's so much to it. So both being able to scheme up run plays for him to run it, but also knowing, hey, in the pass game, he's going to naturally do it. It just puts a lot of stress on defenses. And when they have to defend that and know that, he's such a, kind of freak when he is running with the football, that it makes it real tough on them. And I'm all for it when a play breaks down, like he's a human eraser and he makes plays. He makes bad play calls work. And so I'm very fortunate for that.
It seems like some of that has led to using more empty sets. How does that kind of help you attack a defense in a different way when, you're empty, but you still got a guy that's a threat to run?
Yeah, no, exactly. They obviously did a good job last night. We ran a QB draw and they did a good job at the front, with the twists, and stopping it, like one of the early drives we were talking about with getting James Cook going. But when you go empty, you try to paint a picture, you clear out the box for the quarterback. And, I think it's, defense is obviously doing a really good job of trying to disguise stuff. So it's not as easy. It used to be, a few years back, but Josh does such a good job of being able to see it and just opens up the windows for him. And he has a comfort level with it. And so from a week to week standpoint, we kind of look to see, hey, is it, do we like some of our matchups in empty? And if we don't, we're not going to force the issue with it. But if we do, we feel like, there's some advantages of seeing Josh both in the pass game and the run game.
In the second half there, when their front four was kind of starting to come downhill a little bit, Was there anything that their defense did that negated maybe a running back draw or maybe an old fashioned screen that you just couldn't call it in that situation?
Yeah, I think like a lot of it wasn't necessarily just, Spags does a great job of bringing pressure, right? So, there's a lot more that comes down to, hey, when, you might see a 4-man rush play, but it doesn't necessarily mean, that's some of his tendencies or whatnot. And so being able to scheme it up, at the right time and the right moment with it. I think the biggest thing, like we talked about, was you want to stay on schedule. You want to stay in what we call the green, where, 1st and 10, and next, you're not in 2nd and 7+ or second, off schedule. And we kind of did that too much in the second half. Well, once you get in that situation, hey, defenses can get in their 3rd down defenses. They can start heating you up, blitzing you, and you're figuring out, hey, what's the best, course of action. So, yeah, those things cross my mind for sure. We just have to do a better job of staying on schedule where, we can kind of dial up whatever we want. We're the ones kind of, in the attack mode for sure.
Thanks.
Hey, Joe. I was curious, when you look at Josh and Steph's connection and not getting quite as many receptions and a lot of targets, maybe not as many receptions as he had at other times of the season, is there anything that stands out to you as maybe why that is, why that, number hasn't been as high? Or is that just kind of, obviously Steph, someone's defenses are going to really focus in on, but what stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, some of the targets yesterday were bubbles, right? And, you'd love to be able to get Steph going a little more downfield and whatnot. We've played the last couple of weeks. We've played really good defenses that, their big plan is obviously revolves around Steph Diggs, right? And so that's what's opened up some of the windows for, James Cooks and the Dalton Kincaids, the Khalil Shakirs a few weeks back, right? So when he's not getting the targets or when he's not getting the catches, he's opened up the windows for other people. And he's not a decoy. I don't mean it by that. Like, we're calling plays to get Steph Diggs the ball, but if they're going to take it away, Josh is doing a good job progressing and finding the other outlets. And so obviously we love to get Steph going a little more. He's too good of a football player. He's an elite number 1 wide receiver. I want him to come out of the games, with more than, catching bubbles and stuff like that. So, but I think some of that is just a product of the way some of the defense has been facing with that and opening up opportunities for other guys.
And then I was just curious, on a completely different note, haven't talked to you since the bye week. How did you use that time? Was there anything you kind of like focused in on, like with that extra time to plan or anything like that? Like, how did you kind of end up approaching that entire week?
We just wanted to just kind of look at what we've done, both from a full season standpoint, and then specifically the previous 2 games, and what can we do with a guy like Dawson coming back, or hey, how can we get our running backs to continue to evolve in the pass game? Just little things of more of focusing on us and what we can do better to try to put our players in better position to have success. And obviously would have loved to score more points yesterday, but like I said last week, all I care about is scoring 1 more point than them and finding a way to come away with a victory. So I was pleased with how our coaching staff came together last week to self-scout and kind of figure out what we can do well. And I hope that, some of that stuff kind of shows up moving forward.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Joe, you brought DJ onto the staff during the bye week. What's his role during the week, and how much of a benefit is it to have him that he knows your process?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It was just getting you're down a body, right? And just getting a guy that kind of knows how I think and my process. And, I know his work ethic. I know his character. I know how he kind of approaches things. And so it just helps having a guy that kind of knows me as well, not just bringing in somebody, from the outside that doesn't know our system or ideas or whatnot. So I'm excited to have him here, and, he'll kind of just stay ahead, stay advanced on some of the opponents that we're going to be facing, and kind of just helping me with and the rest of the coaches with whatever's needed.
Great. Thank you.